Hello everyone, Isabelle Lepage are doing our presentation on Antidote, which is a grammatical correction and writing assistance software. Due to the circumstance which we are currently facing, we were of course not able to meet, and therefore we decided to split this presentation into different parts. So this will be part one of the presentation. We hope that all of you remain safe and healthy at home. First, we would like to make a brief introduction of the software itself and then elaborate on how Antidote's proofreading feature is quite a useful tool for all writers, translators, and revisers alike. So Antidote was created in 1993 by Quebec-based company Druid Informatique. What you see here on my screen is Antidote 10. It is the latest version. It is compatible with Microsoft Windows, Mac OS X, and Linux. It does include the proofreading feature, which I will talk about in this presentation. It also does include many dictionaries as well as linguistics guides, which my colleague will be presenting in the other parts of the presentation. So also, as you can notice here, we do have the French and English. We have the English here add-on as a module. This was available since Antidote 9. The designers of the software use computer science to gather an extensive corpus in English and French, and their goal was to create a writing and proofreading tool based on corpus-based algorithms. So Antidote's proofreading features, dictionaries, and linguistic guides do run on these algorithms, and they all interact with one another to help explore all aspects of linguistic issue. So when a writer or translator needs some inspiration, or if he or she is stuck on a certain word or expression, they can always rely on Antidote, as it is a very, very rich source. It does contain, for your information, 127,000 words, 900,000 co-occurrences, 1 million synonyms, and 9,000 verbs and 50,000 alerts. I do believe that Antidote is a great tool. It is very user-friendly, and I also believe that its proofreading feature is user-friendly and interactive, as you do learn from the correction process, which I will show you in a few moments. So let's begin here. I will be using this text that you see here on my screen. You will notice that it is a French text. I just finished translating this with some of my colleagues from English into French. It is a quite technical text. It does contain a lot of aircraft terminology. Yes, so bear with me here. So we are currently in the revision phase, and we are using Antidote as we believe it is a fantastic tool. It does make the task of revision a lot faster, easier, more efficient, and quite enjoyable, really. I do believe that this feature is useful as it gives the translator more confidence that his or her text is coherent and well polished before sending it out to the client or the reviser, depending on what the workplace looks like. So yes, so the proofreader will start analyzing your text from the phrase where the cursor is located. So you just have to place your cursor where you want the proofreader to start. And once the proofreader starts, it cooperates closely with the editing software. So you can thus have a sentence, paragraph, or two, or the entire text analyzed depending on your needs at the time, even without leaving the comfort of your text, which is very user-friendly. So here I actually want the whole text to be analyzed by the proofreader. So I'm going to put my cursor right in front of the title here, Examen du chapitre 3. And then I'm going to go into my toolbar here in Word, and you'll see that Antidote is included. I am going to press on Corrector, which is the proofreading feature. So here it is. Sometimes it takes a few seconds. This time it was quite fast for it to come up with the analysis. Okay, so now you'll see that we have the whole text here, and you have the three different panels. You'll see on the left here in the correction, the proofreading feature, there's language, which is all highlighted here. 92 mistakes, it says. We've got typography, 99 detections, and we have style, which is 173 detections. Okay, so you'll also notice, which is great about this, is that you can still have access to the dictionary and the guides while you are doing the proofreading. So from that sense, it's quite user-friendly. So yes, you will notice then that everything that is underlined is a detection which requires us to have a look at. So just a bit of a description for each of these panels. So here, the language section, this one will detect a wide variety of mistakes such as spelling mistakes, verb conjugation mistakes, problems in grammatical agreements, irregular syntax, punctuation and capitalization mistakes, as well as anglicisms, number formats, and the list goes on. And like I mentioned earlier, what is also great is that Antidote just doesn't point out and correct your mistakes. It explains them within the context of your sentences, thus allowing you to learn while you are correcting. And here in the typography panel, so basically Antidote wants to apply the typographical standards set to your language region to your text. It can correct the spacing between the following and preceding punctuation marks. It can track down hyphens where dashes are required. It can also identify mandatory or prohibited ligatures. It can check the formatting of times, numbers, dates, etc. And since many typographical elements are invisible, for instance, breakable and unbreakable spaces, or some things that are difficult to differentiate, such as hyphens, and M dashes, their automatic verification ensures accuracy and completeness, which I find really, really useful. Sometimes I have a really hard time figuring out about the breaking spaces and things like that, so this is quite fine. So with the correction process, the proofreader will analyze all the text you submit, and it will display it in the proofreading panel, which you see here in the middle. It highlights each suspicious or incorrect word. The underlining signals a detection. So each type of detection uses a separate underline. You can decide whether to approve or reject a correction by consulting the explanations. The tooltip will briefly describe the detection, and then you just click on the yellow part if you need a more detailed explanation. Antidote will suggest its correction, but it does not change your text until you approve of them. So before we begin and I show you some examples, I just want to mention the different types of underlines and detections. So as you can see, Antidote will use two different colors. Okay, you do have yellow and you do have the red. So the red solid underline, if you go here, the red solid underline indicates that a major error has been detected and Antidote can correct it on its own. If you click on the tooltip, it will display it in green, what is the proposed correction, which is you see here. So yes, you must approve it in order to apply the correction in the text. If you refuse it, your text will not be modified. Okay, so that's one example here. So here it requires a trait d'union. So I'm going to say yes, corriger, correct. And then it corrects it. Now, if you look for a red dotted underline, let me try to find one here. Here you have the red dotted underline. It indicates that an error is to be corrected by hand or a graphical inconsistency. So it signals a major error which Antidote cannot correct alone, and it is up to me to modify the text. So you can make the correction directly in the correction panel by clicking on the text or by going back to your original document. I just choose to stay in here because I think it's quite easier. So now here it says, il est conçu pour supporter la pressurisation en haute altitude. Okay, so now what it's telling me is that it's an anglicism. It says that the mot pressurisation devrait être plutôt mis sous pression ou maintien en pression car il constitue un calque de l'anglais. Okay, so now here it wants me to change for mis sous pression. However, in terms of the aircraft aviation industry, in French, from experience, I do know that all the manuals, Transport Canada manuals, and so on, they all use pressurisation. So in this case, I'm going to choose to ignore this. So I'm going to click ignore. And now as you can see, the dotted line disappears and it's ignored. It will also disappear from the menu here, the numbers of detection. Now the solid orange underline will signal an alert, a potential error. So it does indicate that there could be an error on this word and it's up to you to judge. So here it says il est conçu pour supporter. So it doesn't like my verb supporter. I'm going to click on that. Once again, it does tell me that it's an anglicisme. So I'm just going to try to get more details, more information on this. So, faux ami, le sens de ce mot est parfois confondu avec celui d'un mot anglais similaire. So, because I want more clarification, I'm going to click on details. And it's going to give me this actual tooltip here. And it says en français, le mot supporter signifie soutenir, endurer, résister. Supporter une épreuve, la guerre, la misère. Il constitue un anglicisme. So, here, I will obviously make the decision. Here, I will probably try to say if I can change it for something else. I will decide to maybe say soutenir. As you can see, I'm editing right into the screen. There you go. This seems to work better. Now, when it's about a dotted orange interval, it does say that the sentence needs to be reviewed. So here's an example. Lequel parmi les énoncés suivants est vrai en ce qui concerne la nacelle? Okay, so it does not like my syntax here. So I'm going to play around with this. Sometimes it just needs a comma or it just needs maybe one word is misplaced. So here, lequel parmi les énoncés suivants est vrai en ce qui concerne. Let's see if I put a comma here. Maybe it reads better. So I can just click on that. Oh, I'm not sure what happened here. Let's go back in here. And I'm going to put a comma here. Oh, it still doesn't like it here. And I'm not sure what happened here. Maybe it's because this word is here and I'm not sure why. There you go. So now Antidote has decided that this sentence works better. So this is kind of how it is. Now, if we go into typography, you'll see that the bold orange underlining indicates the typographical error that Antidote cannot correct on its own. In the tooltip, Antidote displays a brief explanation of the detection. So here, for instance, ils peuvent se détacher lors d'un impact. So, what does it say here? It says apostrophe courbe. Vos réglages demandent l'emploi de l'apostrophe courbe, recommandé en typographie soignée. Okay, yes, absolutely. So these are my settings. This is the proper setting. So of course now, I'm just going to click on corriger. As you can see, you have the number 47, which means that it detected 47 detections of the same problem. Now you'll notice here that I have 99 detections in typography. Now, if I click on here, let's see what happens. Poof, there you go. It corrected all 47 cases all at the same time, and now I only have 52 detections to look at. So as you can see, it goes on and on. So this is how it makes the whole proofreading quite easy and user-friendly, is that I just basically go through the text and I I go through every single underlining and I correct it. I learn from it. I make the decision, yes or no, always depending on the context. Always remember that Antidote is not foolproof. And at the end of the day, you are the judge. You know better. But for the most part, I believe that, a lot of different mistakes, sometimes mistakes of inattention. It's great in this situation to use this program. With typography, I find that is the best. I always have problems with typography, so it's good to have something that guides me along. And I really do enjoy the tooltip because it really gives me a contextual explanation as to why everything is underlined, and this is how I can learn from it better, and it's quite interactive. So also another thing that's great is that you can, let's say it does not recognize a word, you can also add certain words to a personal dictionary. Let's see if I have any in this text. Okay, well, let's pretend here that my name has to be included in documents. So I'm going to write my last name, which is Vidna, and let's see what it says. See, now it underlines my last name. I'm going to click on that, and it says inconnu. So it says Widner est inconnu d'Antidote. S'il est correct, songez à l'ajouter à un dictionnaire personnel. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add it to my personal dictionary. So there you go, nom de famille, so everything. So this is how you basically add the word. And there you go. It is no longer underlined. So now every time my name or any other unknown name, let's say if you're translating a document which has a lot of different proper names, proper nouns, but it doesn't recognize them, it's quite annoying to always have detections for it. So you can just add it and then it will no longer consider it a mistake. So that's quite great. So now let's see you have made a correction, or you've accepted a correction. Let's say we'll just do this one here. And all of a sudden you change your mind and you realize this is not what I wanted and I want to go back. You can always revert it back and say rétablir. And then it puts it back. And then you can choose to ignore. And then it's going to ignore it. So this is how it works. It's just using your cursor and click if you ignore, click if you accept, click back if you want to cancel it. So if you want to reset it. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward from that sense. Now, the last section of the proofreading is the style panel. So Antidote highlights 3 categories of style. It will select the repetitions. It's going to select the turn of phrases, and as well as vocabulary. So with the repetitions, it locates all of the potential repetitions in the text. If you select a highlighted word, Antidote will instantly display the other occurrences of the word in orange, both in the correction panel and in the detection list. If necessary, you can avoid repetition by replacing one of the terms with a synonym, or by rewording the passage so that only one mention is necessary. For the turn of phrases, the corrector detects for you the sentences to be watched more closely. So, for instance, long sentences, cascades of complements, passive and personal, participial and nonverbal sentences. So yeah, what's nice about this style panel is that it approaches the text from a qualitative angle. So here the notion of an error does not exist. At this stage, the correction aims rather to refine the text, to polish it, just to reduce its heaviness or to enrich it through a more dynamic vocabulary. So anyways, this is just a brief introduction of the proofreading features. Of course, there's a lot more, but this is what I use on a regular basis when I want to proofread my translations, to just gain more confidence before sending it out to a teacher or a client, or if I'm working on another project with my colleagues. This is always it just gives me peace of mind. And yeah, it just gives me more confidence. So thank you everyone for listening. So this concludes the first part of the presentation of Antidote. Isabel will now guide you through the second part, which will be about the linguistic guides and the dictionaries and how these features are also useful to the translator. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.